All right, people. Welcome to another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best brutal new death, hard slam, grind, thrashcore metal show. I am one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horskow. And with me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM, Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, how goes it? This wonderful, wonderfully cool week we're having here.
Yeah, it's going to get hot again, so
I know it's going to get hot. I'm going to want to hate myself again. So, a special guest this week, a longtime listener, first-time caller, big fan of the show, who we invited on, Mr. Dave Bramley. Dave, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to a fun discussion today.
Oh, yeah. We are stoked to have you. We hope we don't disappoint. So, the topic of this week's episode, what are we talking about? So, we've done soundtracks, we've done nu metal influences, we've done a bunch of things that nu metal appeared in, but we really never dug in on nu metal in pop culture. So what we're going to talk about this week, and Dave was great to put together an agenda, and we're going to kick it to him in a second because he's a bit younger than Tim and I, so he has a different perspective. Just to try and get through to everyone, for those of you that are just discovering the genre or just going back into it after a long time, just how pervasive nu metal actually was. But I'm not gonna drain that, Dave. Let's start with, you right before we started recording, you were talking about how when you were a kid, you were encountering what we considered late second, early third wave type nu metal. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm about 28 now. So by the time we were discovering music, like me and my friends, 8, 9, 10 years old, it was already 2004. So most of this had kind of started to die already. And it was, when we were trying to get into bands, learn guitar, a lot of these, third wave bands that had clean vocals, no guitar solos. This was stuff that was easy to grasp onto because it was on the video games we were playing, and it was on commercials and things like that. But little did we know there was a long history before the bands that had already come and gone at the time.
I am Tim. I don't know about you, but it's so intriguing to me to realize that some of Dave's first exposure to nu metal was PlayStation 2.
Yeah,
right. Like picking up a Madden game or something. I mean, I don't even know how to put my head around that one.
It's funny because when you go back and think about that kind of stuff, like I sit there and I'm like, I play like Tony Hawk or whatever, you know what I mean? Like even the actual arcade, and I remember hearing like Pennywise and stuff in there. I'm like, yeah, this stuff rules. So it doesn't surprise me that like people found nu metal from something like Madden or say like Twisted Metal or something. Remember Twisted Metal?
Oh, yeah.
They always had cool stuff in that. So yeah, I mean, and like you said before, it's like we already talked about soundtracks, but they were huge for people, you know what I mean? Especially younger kids that were getting in, their parents wouldn't let them watch them, and then they sneak in the other room and they're like, oh, this movie's cool, but this music's even cooler. So I get that, man.
That I mean, it's wild. So some of the stuff Dave put together, he was talking about games from the early 2000s that had nu metal in them, and Head PE was in Madden. Really?
Suck it up. That's the first song I heard that ever sounded like. I mean, Jared's got some strange vocal delivery, and when I remember hearing that, I think I got in trouble because he's saying "suck it up" very, very weirdly. Sounds like he's saying the F word. Mom did not love that, so I had to prove through I don't know, finding lyric sheets at the time that wasn't the case. But why would Madden put it on there if it was?
Yeah. I was lucky enough. My parents were just like, I don't care what you listen to or do, as long as you do it at home and you're not getting in trouble. So
I made the mistake of playing Suicidal Tendencies, Lights, Camera, Revolution out loud when my mom was in the room, and all she said was, he goes to that rant where he starts cursing at the end of the song, and she said, I don't care that you listen to this stuff. I just don't want you walking around the house singing it. If you start walking around the house singing it, then we're gonna have a problem. But I mean, Head PE, Dry Cell, Audio Vent, this is all one game of Madden. You're right, Twisted Metal, wasn't it? I believe it was Pitch Shifter, Microwaved, was on Twisted Metal either 1 or 2. Because I remember putting the game in and then going, oh, wow, this is Pitch Shifter. That's kind of wild. I think the thing that I guess most fans don't realize is back when MTV played music videos, nu metal was not anything weird. It wasn't anything odd. It was the prevailing music type that was rock and roll at that time, right? It went from hair metal to grunge to nu metal.
Well, you got to think nowadays too, like all the Maddens and stuff, like especially the new one, like that it's mostly hip hop because that's basically, that's what's big now. And I don't blame them for putting that kind of stuff in there. So,
Sure.
I mean, I like
Yeah.
hip hop, so it doesn't bother me, but I mean, yeah, you if you go back and look, Madden 2003, it's got Head PA, and then Madden 2022, which we're at now, it's it's hip hop, it's all the stuff that kids are listening to nowadays. So I'm
Yep.
sure as time goes, it'll start mixing in a little bit again as this music gets bigger. Not that it isn't huge right now, but it's not like Madden's going to put in some deathcore song. You know what I mean?
Well, that would be kind of fucking wild, wouldn't it, Tim?
Yeah.
If like Signs of the Swarm shows up on a Madden game. The other thing to think about, I mean, aside from the Madden games, Mortal Kombat, right? The Mortal Kombat soundtrack in and of itself, that entire soundtrack was used to sell the first movie, and the movie was used to sell the soundtrack. And if you look at that movie soundtrack, it was Fear Factory, it was Geezer, it was Utah Saints, it was Napalm Death.
Yeah.
It was a whole bunch of stuff on there. So I mean, this overlap was not unnatural.
Well, imagine if you put Nelly on Mortal Kombat. It really doesn't go too well.
No. Country Grammar is not going to fit.
Adima's music video for Immortal, I believe, was promoting that movie because I believe that was on an EP just for Immortal and then a couple other songs. I believe that music video. It's either the game or the movie that was coming out. I think it was all clips from it.
Do you think, Dave? When we talk about the second wave of nu metal, third wave of nu metal, where you ended up with bands that were influenced by other bands earlier in that genre, do you think maybe some of this was so marketable and so easily included in some of this stuff because it was the less obnoxious, less jarring cousin to some of the OG stuff? Do you think?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it was not only, I don't know, dumbed down is not the right word, but it was clearly marketed more as like a commercial vehicle, which sort of to tie this into the whole TRL thing you were saying, because I think that is a big factor when it comes to pop culture. Because that was a way of life at the time. You watched that when you got home from school. The two things my parents did encourage me to listen to when it came to music like this, even though they didn't like some of it, my dad heard me listening to a Orgy's cover of Blue Monday, and my mom heard me listen to Say What You Want About Alien Ant Farm, but that Smooth Criminal cover is pretty nu metal-ish. Those were songs they liked. So they're like, oh, cool, this is like a rock version of a song we already like. So I got the okay on that. I bought those CDs. And I think those are very clean cut, like made for radio singles.
That's an interesting topic there, Tim, right? How you kind of backdoored your way into kids' bedrooms by doing covers of stuff that their parents would recognize that are, I mean, those two are not two of the more like offensive, outrageous bands. I mean, not in visuals, not in sound. They were more middle of the road. So I never even thought about that. Nice.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it helped.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty strategic in a way too, because when you release singles as covers as singles, I mean, it kind of gets everybody's attention. So yeah, it's definitely smart. I never thought about it in that way though. Like I always thought like Alien Ant Farm, I thought that did a disservice for them in the long run though, because everybody always just knew them as that song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they did kind of get. I mean, arguably Tim Orgy, as talented as that band is, and we've had this discussion, they kind of got pigeonholed by the whole Blue Monday cover, right? That's the band that covers Blue Monday or the band that covers Smooth Criminal. That's what they got known as. Not every band was like Limp Bizkit was able to transcend their cover to do, truthfully, what is a more egregious cover when they covered The Who, but we're not going to talk about that right now.
But Limp Bizkit didn't put that out as their first single, though. That's the difference.
It didn't catapult them the same way.
Right.
Like
exactly.
Right. Well, what blew them up was, Faith was part of it. It was a second album. And then honestly, I think it was him with Stained, that song Outside, but with Aaron Lewis.
The live one?
Yeah, that definitely helped escalate, because the MTV, speaking of MTV, let's go back to MTV when they used to play videos. People don't realize they used to beat this shit to death worse than radio.
Korn got retired, didn't they?
Yeah, Korn was a great segue, Dave. That was the first video ever retired by TRL Live. It was Freak on a Leash.
Oh, I thought it was Got the Life.
No, it was Freak on a Leash. It was the first one they ever retired.
Makes sense.
I mean, that thing was a monster.
I mean,
it was all over the place.
I honestly don't think Korn blows up until TRL, though. I mean, yeah, the first album was huge and like underground and people that really knew that kind of stuff. But like that third record blew them up. Let's be
Yes.
honest here.
Yeah, MTV helped blow them up. It's the
Absolutely.
same thing with Limp Bizkit. First album was good. Second album had its moments. Funnily enough, it was Hot Dog. It was Chocolate
Yeah, well-
Starfish that really blew them up, and it was Rollin'. It was My Way.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, Rollin'. They shot that on the roof of the World Trade Center.
The year before too.
Yeah,
Might have been
I mean,
Europe.
that's nuts.
I mean,
and
personally, I think Break Stuff blows them up, but the third album is definitely where they eclipse.
You're right. Break Stuff and the
Nookie.
End Together Now with Method Man.
Well, was Nookie on? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
Nookie's
was
on,
on
Significant Other.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that song was fucking huge, dude.
Dude, I'm sorry. That song is still a fun song to listen to. I'm
yeah,
sorry. And when I
definitely.
saw them live, they were still really fun. So
Yeah, I don't
We'll
skip
take
that
it.
song when I listen to that record. Fuck it.
nope. Did we deep dive on that second album?
No.
We never have. We were trying to line up Ryan Rainbow, and he keeps ditching us. So Ryan, if you're listening, you're probably not. Come on the show. We want to talk about it.
Whatever.
But even some of the one-off songs that ended up on video games. So the Dead Rising franchise had Dre, it had Hostile Groove, it had Cell Dweller. Crazy Taxi 2 had Methods of Mayhem on it. Methods of
that's
Mayhem.
right.
How insane is that?
God, that record sucks.
It wasn't that bad. So speaking of a song from that time where they were first gen nu metal, but they were all over the place. That first Incubus album, New Skin, Idiot Box.
Certain
No,
Shade
that
of
was
Green.
Snot. Certain Shade of Green. That's what I'm thinking of. Even so, people don't remember I wish it was on YouTube. I should look for it. The Way of the Gun trailer with Benicio del Toro and Ryan Philippe. They used Redefined in the trailer.
Wow.
So I was like, I want to see this movie because it's Incubus and it's like Ryan Philippe and they're shooting guns. And then you go to the movie and you're like, well, this was terribly mismarketed. Like, what the hell am I actually watching here?
Now, thinking of that, that's actually a good song for something like that.
Yeah. I got to look and see if it's out there. So at what point, Dave, did you start to go and personal question, I guess, at what point, so you're encountering this stuff in video games, you're encountering stuff from MTV. At what point do you start to dig backwards and start going into, oh, well, where did this come from? This sound came from here.
So I was always into like the pop, like I guess Limp Bizkit, Slipknot, Korn, Linkin Park, like the stuff that was popular. I went back and listened to, but it wasn't until it was like probably 2017 when one of my favorite albums of all time, if you haven't heard, I believe it's pronounced Misanthropy or Misanthrope by Dead.
Okay.
They're a newer nu metal band. I went to see them and I'm like, I can't believe something sounds like this again. They got the rapping, the heavy music. And it was then when I dove back in and found so much other stuff. I found you guys, I found Roach Coach, everybody else. And COVID helped too, because I had not a ton going on, but I just fully immersed myself back in and found out that other people are still doing this. I had no idea.
I wonder if maybe with this recent revival, maybe we will see more of a nu metal influence in some of what pop culture considers, I guess, acceptable. Like what is not modern 2022 pop culture. I mean, I hope they don't get well, they're not listening, but the new Code Orange song sounds like Code Orange Man 5000. And like completely so, to the point where I was like, okay. Well, they always had their nu metal leanings. I guess it's kind of a step. And Tim and I famously on the show have been wrong with our predictions where we said Vane was going to lean into more of a nu metal sound, and they produced that monster this year. I mean,
The album's really good though.
Yeah,
really good.
It's in my top 10. It's in my top
Dude,
10. No surprises in my top 10 this year.
Not to derail here, but the side band that Vane does, the Fleshwater, that record is better than the Vane record.
I still haven't listened to that yet.
Jesus, it's so good.
Still haven't. While we're down this rabbit hole and this offshoot, Dave, what are some of your top picks for this year?
Right now, it's not even a nu metal record, but shout out to Dragged Under. Their new album came out maybe 2 months ago. Upright Animals is insanely good.
Is that Fluff?
Yes.
Okay.
So I just found out I'm going to see them in a couple weeks with Dropout King. So I would consider kind of nu metal. So I found them from there.
Mm-hmm.
That album's really good. The only other new thing I've really listened to is actually a suggestion from you guys, and it's from one of your episodes. It's the group with the two, I want to say Chinese or Japanese symbols with the word conform in the middle. I don't remember how you pronounce it.
Live, conform, die from Australia.
Yeah, whatever their new EP is really good. I don't know if that's this year, but I've been listening to that a lot.
Really good.
Yeah, really, really good. Well, I'm glad you found that stuff.
That Banks arcade record rules.
Yeah, it was kind of different. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I think we're gonna have a real interesting. Well, I think our top 10s are gonna have a lot of the same picks, but where we diverge is probably gonna be kind of wild because I think we're gonna go in different directions. So back to the topic of the task at hand, right? The idea of pop culture. So this is late 90s, early aughts. MTV is blowing up. It's still huge. Video games are becoming a thing. The video games were around before PlayStation, before Xbox, but now they're really becoming a thing. Like it's a giant cultural, it's a norm in the culture to be playing video games. The other thing that blew up in the late 90s, early aughts, which I guess people have kind of forgotten about until most recently, wrestling. How huge wrestling is. Like Monday Night Raw and what was Thursday night? Was TNT, I think it was? SmackDown. How these were huge events. I mean, the whole NWO, The Rock, and people want to realize, I am convinced. I'm convinced the reason why The Rock, Dave Bautista, John Cena are good actors, like enjoyable to watch, because they understand comedic timing and they understand timing from wrestling, where how to pace yourself and how to deliver shit. But
that is a fucking amazing point.
And that's why they understand timing. They understand cues. Like the Peacemaker show, John Cena was absolutely hysterical. The Rock is hysterical. Granted, they don't have a lot of acting range, but let's be real here. I'm not expecting fucking Citizen Kane starring The Rock, which would be kind of wild. So if The Rock is listening, I would watch that. Yeah. But they get the timing part. They understand the pacing. And
Ballers was fucking great.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah. You have famously, what is it? Didn't Fred Durst rode out on a Harley for one of the events, right? They were doing the Undertaker's music. He was using rolling.
That's the ones that my friends know. Like, I was never into wrestling, but some of my friends that are people my age that weren't into this music and still aren't. If I put on a Rolling or something like that in the car, like, oh, this is the song from the wrestling thing. I'm like, see, you know it. It's just not
Dave,
the way
wasn't Fred Durst a playable character in one of those wrestling video games?
He was. I don't remember which one, but I know I know for sure he was.
Does he have the hat on and shit?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. That is but
Limp Bizkit was what a time.
Yeah, the early aughts were lit. Fred Durst was all over the place.
I even think you got some nu metal in, like, I don't watch anime, but I'm pretty sure in like early anime days you would get stuff like that as well.
Yeah. And two of the examples that Dave gave is songs that were all over the place. And I'm going to mention both these, Tim, and you're going to go, oh my God, we couldn't get away from them. Headstrong by Trapped. That was everywhere. That was commercials. That was movies. That was wrestling. Bodies by Drowning Pool.
That song is still on shit.
It's still around. They still play it. I mean, I'm going to say that a good sign of a lasting rock song, where it's good enough for normie culture and it's just enough for us where we're like, yeah, we'll deal with it, if they play it at a live sporting event.
Yeah.
Yep. And Bodies comes on all the time.
If you go to a Flyers
POD
game,
into that too.
Yep.
Absolutely.
POD, boom.
If you go to a Flyers game, dude, it's the same way.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Is that the video where they're playing ping pong? Boom.
Yep.
Yeah. This stuff, it was all over, right? And then the crossovers with Eminem. So there was the fair amount of hip hop crossover. I think it was it The Last Family Values where it was all hip hop and nu metal? I think it was the Last Family Values tour. It was more hip hop than nu metal. But these things are starting to get pulled together. Down with the Sickness, right? Down with the Sickness from Disturbed showed up everywhere. It's again, it was a pervasive thing that people don't realize how pervasive it actually was.
You know, like, not nu metal, but Enter Sandman is probably played at every sporting event.
Yep.
Yes. There is not one live sporting event. I would say that every team in every major sport plays that at least one game.
Yeah. If you go to a Flyers game, you'll hear Megadeth and shit. It's only
still playing Brohim as their goal song.
I don't remember.
Pennywise.
I don't remember.
That's a great song, by the way.
That's a really good song.
That's a really good song. You want to get fired up. That's a good song.
Yeah, you have to have like the coldest, blackest heart if you don't like that song.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude. That's a great tune. Like, and even the meaning of it is just like, it's great. I mean, not that it's great that somebody died, but like, you know,
I get what you mean.
But yeah, you get what I mean. It's like it's a feel good song. So
yeah. And the other interesting thing about nu metal being so big in pop culture at that time was there was no stigma to it at all. It's just this is what the kids are listening to. So this was the stuff that showed up. And we all know famously, nu metal was looked down upon by what was considered the heavy metal fans of the time. It was looked down upon by all the hardcore bands, which is kind of funny because if anybody follows any of the old hardcore sites where they post old show flyers and they post old pictures from shows from the mid to late 90s and early aughts, all them motherfuckers are wearing Jenkos. All of them.
absolutely,
They're all wearing Jenkos. Mike Kennedy on the Meet Meet podcast admitted that VOD was sponsored by Jenko.
Absolutely.
So not for nothing. You can keep the puka shells and the big Krishna beads and all that, but you were all rocking big jeans.
Well, I mean, is this, would you consider Adidas to be like a pop culture thing? Because Adidas was fucking huge for getting that kind of stuff.
Jonathan Davis almost made it one for a little bit, right? Even between the song and his attire, like
Yeah,
you knew
I
that
mean,
brand.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you don't consider clothing as a pop culture thing, but you kind of do, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
because
grunge
think of it.
or like hair metal, they have like a look to them. Like I think nu metal's got to be in the top 5 genres of like us that has like a very specific aesthetic.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, well, think of it too. I mean, celebrities nowadays, like what's her name, Kardashian, like she's wearing like the corpse shirts and shit. But if you like, I hate when people get mad at that because people like, especially Barnes and shit, should be happy about that because it's probably selling his logo.
Yes. Yes.
Like you can't get mad at some celebrity. What if she really does listen to it? You know what I mean?
I can't picture Khloe Kardashian rocking out to Hammer Smash Face, but hey, Khloe, if you're listening and watching and you want to come on and talk about it, we would absolutely love to have you. But
She's the hottest Kardashian, by the way.
Oh, Khloe?
No, Courtney.
No, you're thinking of Courtney. Khloe now she definitely is a tapeworm or something.
Who's the one that goes out with Barker?
Courtney.
That's a question for the lady downstairs.
Courtney. It's Courtney.
Yeah, she's the hottest one.
Adidas. So think about Adidas up until the point that Korn starts wearing it. At that point, it was really a sports brand. And if you think about it, their footprint was soccer. It was Sambas. It was Copa Mundials. Everybody had the same spikes because they make the best soccer boots. That was what they were known for. And then Jonathan Davis shows up with the tracksuits. And the whole world changes. Do you remember all those stores, Tim? Gadzooks, Journeys, Hot Topic, even Pacific Sunwear for a time. They all had, everything was Adidas. You can get that 3-stripe short sleeve jersey in every color. I think I had it in like 3 freaking colors.
Absolutely. Them things are super comfortable too.
Yeah, they really were. I wish I could find mine. My Guzzy still has my old zip up tracksuit jacket. He still has my old one, but they made that brand, and then they switched to Pony, which I never understood why. It was a sponsorship thing or something. Which
more than likely,
did the song come? Did the sponsorship from Adidas come from the result of him writing a song with the like acronym Adidas, or do we know the order of operations?
No,
he was rocking
Adidas
Adidas first.
Okay,
yeah, but I think to your point, Dave, he was rocking them. They did the song. They probably got sponsored around the same time they got the song. So it was almost this self-fulfilling prophecy where it fed into itself.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at old videos, Head and Monkey were wearing that stuff as well. So
yeah,
I believe it.
One of my best concert memories is seeing them at the Electric Factory touring off of Life is Peachy. And the bootleg audio is Electrocuted is the name of the illegal DVD bootleg, whatever, it's soundboard, but there's a video of them playing that show where he comes out in the purple sequined outfit, and you were like, yo, what is this? Like they were a force. So
I've never seen Korn.
Really?
Never. Not once.
Dave, seen them?
Yeah, I saw him here in Utica and then at a couple festivals. I went to like Rock on the Range and Sonic Temple, that type of stuff.
Okay. I think the last time I saw them was 99. It was them, Rob Zombie, and it was the co-headliner. And I think Videodrome opened. Videodrome.
Wow.
I gotta change that. So
Yeah, I mean, I apparently they still put on a really good show,
It's worth it.
and I mean, watching the Dave and I were talking about before he joined him, the Woodstock documentaries really made you go back and be like, man, they were really a monster of a band. They were a monster.
Still are.
Yeah. So one of the other things we haven't touched on yet, so we've talked about pervasiveness in video games as video game culture is becoming a big thing. We've talked about wrestling, where this is the triumphant return of wrestling. You now have the WWE, and I forget whatever Bischoff was running, where they joined. We have MTV is being overrun. Linkin Park is all over the place. Drowning Pool is all over the place.
I got a good one for you. X Games.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Huge.
That's a good one.
Fucking huge with that stuff.
Huge.
I mean, I kind of would lump in like the whole Etnies and DC and World Industries with nu metal as well, because a lot of them people in bands were wearing them big shoes. Like my girlfriend calls them the boat shoes, because I have like a couple pairs of Etnies, and like the tongue is like this fucking thick.
Yeah, or like
they're so
Osiris
fucking
shoes.
comfortable.
Yeah, looks like you got a brick on your feet.
Yeah.
I had the Etnies were my shit in college, to the point where I wore every year for Christmas. I would go and just buy the same shoe in the same size, because last year's pair was fucking worn out. Yeah, they were comfortable. Yeah, they got a kind of ridiculous. Right.
I'm gonna Google X Games soundtracks while you guys are talking. Hold on.
Good idea.
But you're right. X Games was huge. Not something specific around the nu metal world, but it was adjacent, and it pulled in because there was a healthy amount of crossover between skateboarding culture, extreme sports culture, and what they considered extreme music at the time.
All right, guys, ready?
Yeah.
Damn, I killed this. ESPN presents X Games Volume 1. This came out in, let me see. Hold on one second. Just came out 2006. So this is 2006. You have Gravity Kills, Ministry, Primus, Sepultura, fucking Rada Mahata is on here. Korn with Blind, Megadeth, Shades Apart, House of Pain, Faith No More. I mean, so yeah, a couple nu metal things, but I mean, yeah, it's pretty much they were going for it here. Beastie Boys, Drill. Remember Drill?
I saw them live. She has a voice that is just unreal. Now, you know who she's in? You know, band she's in now? Who she tours with? KMFDM.
Really?
She's their female.
Wow.
Lucia, I'm going to butcher her long Italian last name. She is the female singer for KMFDM now. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Number 2, Helmet, Wu-Tang, Fishbone. Yeah, not too many on here. Civ. That's fucking Civ. Prodigy.
Civ is wait 1 minute more.
It's Shout It.
I don't know. Not a Civ fan.
Goldfinger, Sugar Ray, Bush. I mean, these were pretty much, going in the realm of that kind of stuff.
Now that you've said it, Tim, you've said Goldfinger. I kind of wonder if maybe we should do an episode about the genres that were, as Dave is starting to like slide slowly off screen. Some of the genres that were adjacent to nu metal, as the bit, like, for example, right? We all know that, Korn and Limp Bizkit were the biggest thing to end the 90s. The Prodigy was there. Goldfinger, all that ska stuff was there. Op Ivy, Rancid, all that stuff was there. So there was a lot of different things going on in the musical world at the time that might actually warrant a pretty decent conversation, because if you look at how music is now, there's a prevailing genre, there's a prevailing sound that's on the radio, and then there's everything else. Whereas back then there was a lot of different things all mixed in. Man, remember when swing was going to be the next big thing?
Yeah.
Right? What was it? Dave's just shaking his
yeah.
head like, please don't bring this
Cherry
back.
Poppin' Daddies or whatever.
Yeah, and the Creepers and the Brian Setzer Orchestra. Yeah, that was going to be a thing for a bit. I'm convinced ska and punk were kept alive all those years by the Warped Tour, right? Because Real Big Fish was there, Goldfinger, all those kind of bands that, I mean, kind of enjoyable, but
it's still alive. I was laughing because I'll be in New Jersey next month to see Goldfinger. Not even joking.
Great
Speaking
fucking
of that,
band,
did you see Dave the Bamboozle is coming back next year?
Is it really?
Yep, they're doing it at Bader Field in Atlantic City.
No,
to the
kidding.
point where I'm like, we might have to go to this. We might have to go depending upon the lineup.
Oh, that's incredible.
I'm looking up here now. Jackass the movie soundtrack, because Jackass
I
was
own
kind
that.
of big with that stuff.
Yeah, that was Jackass was what, the early aughts. Yeah.
2003 or 4 was the first one.
Yep.
I mean, Slayer, Minutemen. There's not really new metal. They really were kind of more like Cradle of Filth and shit like that. You always had
Yeah,
that kind of crazy shit in
CKY.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Andrew WK, Danzig, shit like that. But even, I mean, just going into not even new metal, but just metal as a whole back then, I mean, it was big for a lot of shit. Like the ECW soundtrack I'm looking at, Pantera, a lot of cool shit on these things, man.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think, though, this type of music goes along with just a crowd of people who actually listen to that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It's not a reach. It's not a reach that if you like Pantera, you like wrestling. It's not a reach.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you like Jackass, you probably listen to Slayer. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
it definitely goes with it. So,
and to think about that, so with new metal being a big cultural icon at that point, it would show up on TV in the weirdest places. So I think almost every band's been on South Park, right? Like Korn's been on South Park once or twice. I think they've been on Family Guy. Am I right, Dave?
Marilyn Manson has been. I don't know if Korn has been off the top, unless it was a reference, but I'm not sure if they were actually on there. But the South Park one, I can confirm.
Yeah, because I was about to say that's written in the notes, but yeah.
Yeah, I think they were on. I think they've shown up in The Simpsons. I'm pretty sure they've shown up on Family Guy. All those comedy shows have found a way to pull them in, and I'm not so sure if it's for a gimmick or for on purpose. But it was pervasive.
South Park thing is wild looking back at, in my opinion, especially because it's early in the show too. I think it's like the 3rd or 4th season.
South Park itself is wild because they literally pull no punches and they keep going every year and they remain culturally relevant. While we're talking about songs that we couldn't get away from, so Headstrong Boom, Bodies by Drowning Pool, can we talk about Last Resort by Papa Roach? Again, another song. Go to a Birds game, 4th and Inches. They're going to play Last Resort. They're going to play this at every sporting event where you're running out of time. It's another one of those, okay, it's just part of what it is.
Yeah, that's the same thing with Walk by Pantera.
Yeah.
100%.
That just randomly, like you go to any NHL game, especially East Coast, you're going to hear that shit. I'm sure. It looks like you're a Bruins fan, or are you a Bruins fan? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've went to the Bruins games and you've heard Walk.
Oh yeah, it's required. I think they have to play it a certain amount of times.
Yeah, exactly. It's required. Like you sign a contract, you're playing fucking Walk in between this intermission. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm always amazed at that. I'm always amazed that more players don't pull in more weirder stuff. Like if I was a relief pitcher, I would probably come out to Earth Crisis. Right? The opening to Breed the Killers. Right? That's a monster intro. I'm always impressed by that. So let me ask you, Dave, Papa Roach fan?
I like them. I like the earlier stuff more. Like the first 2 albums since they. I mean, I don't hate what they're doing now, but it's not for me. It's not what I want out of them, I guess.
Okay. It's one of those bands where Tim and I are always trying to find somebody to convince us that defend that first album because we have such low opinions and we need someone to come on. Maybe we get Dave to it. Walk us through that first album.
So it's nostalgia for me. It's like one of the first things I heard. So it hits differently than it would if you guys were sick of that, or that was like the 6th band that was ripping off somebody else that ripped off somebody else. I get it. For me, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. And I was 7.
I got another sporting event song, new metal. Breaking the Habit, Linkin Park. Always gets played.
Yes. Well, speaking of sports and new metal, we didn't even talk about we're going to get onto a weird tangent here. Maybe we could do sports and new metal as a different episode. The Snowcore tour, right? Because that was all snowboarding, and that was Puya, Mr. Bungle.
Crazy Town played at?
Did they? Oh my God, that'd be crazy. That'd be a crazy part.
Yeah,
I'll be Jamie for you right now.
Were they even? I mean, they had some rough years. They might have been. They really might have been. But I remember seeing. I think the year I saw it, it was System of a Down, Incubus, Mr. Bungle, and Puya.
Damn, this one from
That's really
95 to 2010 10. Wow.
Yeah,
I
dude, it
did
went a
not know
long
that.
time.
Yeah, I mean, Sublime is pretty much on there as first. The first couple Sublime, Guttermouth, Skank and Pickle. What the fuck? 96 Sublime, Guttermouth again, Assorted Jelly Beans, Less Than
Yeah,
Jake.
less
So
than
this was,
Jake.
I mean, this was mostly punk rock stuff. You know, Power Man was on 97,
Mm-hmm.
98 Blink. This it goes back to that stuff. 99 Redman, Everclear, Soul Coughing. Oh, I love that band.
Yeah, that first album is unreal.
2000 System, Puya.
That's the one that I saw. 2000 and in 2001, it was Fear Factory, Kitty,
Yep.
Union Underground, Slaves on Dope. Yeah.
Yep. Boy Hits Car. I mean, yeah, 2002 Glassjaw, Alien Ant Farm, Earshot. Wow, Earshot.
I haven't heard that name in ages. That showed up in your notes too, didn't it, Dave?
I might have been.
Did that show up somewhere?
Yeah, listen to this one while you're looking. 2004 Trapped, Simple Empty Soul, Finger 11, Daughtry, and Strata. Wow.
Yeah, that Finger 11 album is pretty good.
No, it is pretty good.
Shout out to who was on that episode with us? AJ and Jet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jet. He was actually playing guitar for Vomit Forth.
Was he?
Yeah, he was their guitarist. Yep.
I thought he sings for Vomit Forth.
No, that's
Kane. Jet. Okay.
Yeah,
Jet.
you're talking about Kane. You know,
Oh,
Kane
he's doing the
Kane
tour.
sings for Vomit Forth. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Did you talk to them?
No, I got there just in time to see Snuffed on Sight go on, and literally it was 20 minutes, 5 minutes in between, 25-minute set, 5 minutes in between, and then they nailed it. They were literally done playing by 10 o'clock. The headliner was done by 10.
We're taking a 2-minute intermission here. How fucking disgusting was Snuffed on Sight?
Yo, I mean, they play as a 3-piece, so it's a guitarist with a bass track, the drummer, and the singer, but he was doing gurgles and pig squeals where I was sitting at the bar just watching and just laughing to myself. Like it was so insanely heavy. It was nuts. And he comes out with a hoodie and his hat pulled low and he's got the mic and it was wild, dude. It was wild. The last time I giggled for a band like that was when I saw Body Snatcher open for Dying Fetus, where I'm in the back and it was me and all the old guys in the back, like trying to rest our feet and our backs. And we were leaning up against the sound booth and we were just giggling because they were so heavy. It was kind of comical.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then who went on after them? Chelsea Grin.
Well, another interlude for a second here. Dave, you coming from Utica, which is considered upstate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming, like, do you listen to heavier shit, like all the New York death metal and stuff?
Not as much. Like, to be honest, even with the nu metal type stuff, I probably gear towards the opposite of what I think you like, Tim, because I always liked the more melodic rap heavier stuff. Nothing wrong with the other stuff, but like Slipknot was probably the heaviest I ever got, but there is some more like metalcore stuff that I like.
So you're not doing Suffocation and stuff like that.
No, I know like some of my friends listen to what's the Russian band with the masks that are doing
Slaughter to Prevail.
Yeah, so I hear some of that stuff, like I'm familiar with it, but it's not my cup of tea per se. But I don't hate it.
They're gonna go full new metal soon.
Oh yeah, you can tell.
Oh yeah,
it's a ton of influence in it.
Oh yeah,
it's coming.
I'm calling that shit. I don't care how. I'm not even wrong on Vane. They're going the new metal.
Nah, I don't think so, man. That last one really surprised me. The Knock Loose really surprised me. I wasn't expecting to go in that direction. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. Who is Knocked Loose out with right now? Is it Bring Me the Horizon?
I don't know, but that's
because they're playing.
A day to remember they had a tour with.
They're playing big venues, like big venues.
Yeah, amphitheaters.
Yeah, I think Vane could be just as successful because they definitely have a buzz. I think if Adam Orthodox, shout out to Adam. The people there seeing boundaries are kind of unreal. It really is kind of like Knocked Loose in 2016. Like the people are just losing their minds, and it's now they've arrived.
That album's this year too, right? I might have forgot that the Orthodox album. You guys, I did listen to that. That's really good.
Yeah, it came out, and they pull it off live too. Like they've gotten much better live, and Adam is convinced because the songs are just better written.
Yeah, like I'm not even gonna say that's the best record because they're friends of ours, but that record is fucking incredible.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. We've had some really good shit come across our laps this year. So thinking about how nu metal is still pervasive in present day, and Dave brought this up. It was in the notes, and it made me laugh when I came across it. How internet memes have used nu metal as a backbone now. The example being Mudvayne's Dig, the Berber Dang, which is all over the place. You can't escape it.
There's like an 8-hour video of Berber Ding.
The best ones are the ones where every time he says dig, it speeds up by like 5%.
That is fucking hilarious.
And it just have you seen that one, Dave? It just keeps going faster, faster. And same thing with Chop Suey, where every time he says wake up,
every word is wake up, every word is table.
Yes, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, table. Yeah.
If you can find the 8-hour ones, that's usually what, like, if we need to put something on for the dog, if we're going to be gone all day, it's like, all right, 8-hour version of Mudvayne's Dig or whatever. It's perfect. Now the TV won't turn off and you'll be sad.
You'd come back and the dog is like, he has like his face painted and stuff and the long dreadlocks. Like, mine would lose their minds if I
They probably use that video to when terrorists get caught.
Torture prisoners in Gitmo, right? It's Berber Dang all over again. Yeah, it's taking us a kind of full circle, but not even. These things were so big in a way that it's kind of hard to describe because we don't have musical acts that get this big anymore. I mean, some hip hop gets big, Taylor Swift, right? Some of the new country, which is really just rock and roll, if you're asking me. Some of the country that's kind of big now is really just rock and roll as we would define it. But I don't think there's that cultural pervasiveness that nu metal really had, where it influenced everything. Everybody had big pants. Everybody wore, and to your point, Dave, everybody wore Adidas. Everybody wore shell toes. It was just a thing. It was just a thing to do.
Yep. And to your point with the internet memes thing, I wanted to kind of bring it back to what you said about the, I guess, sports anthems or however we define it. For me, like, those are sports songs, but not because now I do hear them in arenas, but around 2005 or 6 when YouTube launched, we were like 11 or 12. And what were we doing? Looking up like, NFL biggest hits or stuff like that. And every single video had Boom. It had Down with the Sickness. So like, again, the kids that weren't into this type of shit per se, they know those songs. Like, oh yeah, this was on every hockey highlight video I watched was one of these songs.
That's a good point, Dave. I never even thought about that. That's a really good point. How you're watching sports highlights on YouTube and they were ripping off all those songs. I never even thought about it.
It was always, Bodies. Every hit video, no matter the sport, it's always Bodies. So that's how, like, I knew them beforehand, but my, other friends are like, oh, this is cool. I'm like, I know it's cool. As if I'm not, some not 11-year-old being like, yeah, you should have been into this shit from the start. As if I wasn't 4, but.
You mean like NFL's hardest hits?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Dave was talking about how, you stepped away, Tim. He was talking about how when you went onto YouTube and looked up sports highlight videos, it was the same 5 or 6 nu metal songs. It was Boom. It was Bodies. It was Headstrong. It was Last Resort. It was all the stuff that we were talking about earlier. As
now they just moved them into the arenas. Yeah. It made it easier for us.
Yeah, which is really kind of insane. So we've talked about TV shows. We've talked about South Park. We've talked about video game soundtracks. We've talked about. Excuse me, geez, it's been a long day. We've talked about wrestling. What have we not hit on yet? We've hit on sports. What other pop culture icon or pop culture mainstays got infected by the nu metal virus? We talked about MTV, which is going to be lost for most people who don't remember that they actually used to play videos.
We should talk about MTV for a second, though.
Yeah, Fred Durst, I feel like kind of plays into that too, because there was so much stuff just centered around him at that time, and MTV was a big part of it.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It was Total Request Live, it was called, right?
Yeah, yep. TRL. Yep.
How did you request that, though? Did you call in, or I forget? Does anyone remember how that was done?
Maybe there was a phone vote line or something, but yeah, I was probably too young to be allowed to do whatever it was. It was probably long distance or something. That was the case.
Definitely think it was a phone request line. MTV.
Yeah, let's look that up, because I always thought about that. I'm like, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah, I think that you would have to call in.
How was there so many?
Here we go. TRL played the 10 most requested music videos of the day as voted by viewers via phone or online.
Okay.
So, I mean, back in the day, if you were good at programming, you could have programmed a bot to request like the Berserker. How insane would have that been if like the Berserker showed up on TRL Live? People would have been like, what are we doing?
Yeah, you try to get on the TRL on your 56K modem and it takes like 4 hours to send it in.
Yeah, then someone picks up the phone to call and everything you've been doing the last 3.5 hours is gone.
Yeah, right. God damn it.
Speaking of TRL, let's talk about some weird sort of trivia. The reason why Limp Bizkit has that song 1999 on Significant Other is they wanted to cover 1999 by Prince.
They did live.
And he wouldn't let them. And that's where I was going. They did it live. It's on YouTube. If you look up Limp Bizkit New Year's Eve in Times Square.
It's New Year's going into 99, right?
Yep. They played their cover of Prince, and Prince wouldn't give them the rights, so they had to redo the song entirely. They did something different.
Well, I wonder why he wouldn't.
I don't know. I think you would have just ran with it, you know?
Especially after I imagine George Michael's got some hits on YouTube after that came out.
Yeah. I mean, shit, pay me to use my thing. Yeah, whatever. If it blows up, somebody's gonna come and check my shit out too. It's kind of win-win for everybody. I mean, we could do an entire episode on the cultural influence of Fred Durst. Like we really could. How much of he was everywhere. He was an icon. He was on TV. He was on wrestling. He was on MTV. He did the guest part with Christina at the VMAs. I mean, he was at WrestleMania. He was all over the place. Woodstock. He was a thing.
Kind of a meme too, but yes.
Oh, absolutely. He was a meme before memes were a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's legit a meme with the performance he did with Dad Vibes at, what was it, Chicago's Lollapalooza, right? Yeah, and then I was so stoked to see them. Tim and I drove all the way there, and they fucking canceled the show.
Did you end up going this past?
Oh, yeah, I went to the one in Atlantic City. It was awesome.
I went the day after you. I went to the one in Wilkes-Barre.
Okay. Yeah, I was sending these guys videos where they sounded great. They were on point. They were tight as hell. I left at I think they closed with Break Stuff, but the song before that, I was like, okay, I'm out of here. But yeah,
they were for that.
Yeah, I was exhausted. It was late on a Friday night. I wanted to get home and it was pouring outside. So it's not like I could be like on autopilot getting home. I had to get out of there.
Sure. Oh, yeah, it was pouring. I was so happy I didn't go to it when it was pouring like that.
You bitch. Well, then again, if you had been there, we probably wouldn't have come home. We probably just would have started drinking and got a room comp somehow because, sit at the slot machine long enough, whatever. But yeah, it was a good show. But I will say, if we're going to talk about this topic, one of the disappointing things I found about Limp Bizkit after that show, and it's a lot of older bands make this mistake, no merch online.
They haven't done merch in a really long time. Even for Gold Cobra, they didn't put anything out. And I remember that was a point of contention at the time.
Yeah, and this last tour, they had a bunch. They had sweatshirts, they had t-shirts, they had long sleeves, they had tanks for the girls, they had a whole bunch of stuff, but there's nothing online. And I'm just no.
I think it's a Wes Borland quote that I found that basically I was around 2010 or 11 when Gold Cobra came out. He's like, why would we make this? No one wants to wear something that says Limp Bizkit on it. So they had a couple shirts out at the time that were like logos and designs, which fair point, Wes. Now,
true.
Now that I wonder if they took anything away from this last tour, because by the time I knew someone that went to the last one, they had nothing. They had nothing left.
I just think it's one of those things you kind of have to do it these days. If you have a new album coming out, do a pre-order, do some limited merch. People are going to spend the money for it. Besides the fact that I don't ever buy shit when I'm at the show, truth be told. Like I don't want to carry it around, and I'm a fat guy. They usually don't have my size, but they always have tour leftovers. So I'll always pick up tour leftovers. But yeah, it was like kind of a bummer. But yeah, we could do an entire episode on the life and times of Fred Durst, and
I'll be back for it.
Here's a good thing, or here's a good point. I think if the rise of new metal sound right now, how much of that attributes to pop culture when kids like say that were born in like 2000, say a kid's born in 2000, by the time 2010 comes, 2012, 12 years old, I think you're pretty much like, oh, you have a mind where you can say, I'm going to go back and listen to some music. So then 2018, 19 comes when they're an adult. How much of that do you think, even 2016 we'll say, how much of that attributes to kids going, I really like that sound back then. Let's try to incorporate that into our band. So how much of that do you think is relevant right now? Did you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think there's some. I mean, you can hear even with like, it's not my cup of tea, but like what like SoundCloud rapper culture is. There's a ton of like new metal type influence in that. I mean, a lot of kids right now are probably listening to that. which makes me think that stuff will kind of stick around. So I'd say a decent amount.
Yeah, I'm saying like a kid that's born in 2000 obviously isn't listening to Korn. He's a fucking infant.
Right.
But when he's 12 to 14 and he goes back
and he's experiencing music,
or what his parents are listening to, it's feasible that his parents are into that.
Yeah, there you go. That's a great point right there.
Let me ask you, Tim, because I really don't remember. What was the big thing in 2012? Like, what was the genre?
Gangnam Style.
Yeah,
that was the genre. Whatever that
you're probably right. You're probably
deathcore.
Right.
I would say for heavy stuff, it was deathcore. That was like when Chelsea Grin was getting there, right, and stuff like that.
Bring Me the Horizon was just about to drop Sempiternal too, so you kind of had a lot of that, like just off of MySpace, kind of MySpacey core type stuff.
Yeah, MySpace
was still around.
Definitely.
I
agree with that.
I'm looking at like not our genre, not our cup of tea, but Billboard's top 100 singles from 2012. It's Gautier, somebody that I used to know. It's Maroon 5. It's fun. It's Ellie Goulding, who I still think is hot. Kelly Clarkson, Nicki Minaj, One Direction, Flo Rida, Adele, LMFAO, Katy Perry, Train, Drake, David Guetta. So yeah, it was the weird sort of
Southern hip hop.
Yeah, kind of like the goofy sort of hip hop mixed with like I see David Guetta, I see LMFAO. That was kind of like club music at that point, right? That was I'm gonna say this out loud and people are gonna flame me, but that was Jersey Shore, MTV Jersey Shore type shit, right?
That was my freshman year in college. Every party, what you just listed was the playlist. It was burned into my brain. I never need to hear any of that shit.
I was DJing in 2010 to 2014, and that was pretty much the playlist. Yeah,
that's brutal.
Oh, that's Moves Like Jagger. We all remember that song. Rack City, Domino, Gangnam Style shows up. Oh my god, Pitbull, Gym Class Heroes. Carrie Underwood. So yeah, it was a weird sort of mix of kind of Pop-Tarts, kind of friendly country music. There was some techno mix in there, some Calvin Harris, some all that. So it was kind of weird. So I don't even know, for the extreme stuff, I guess is that late deathcore? 2012?
Yeah.
What was big in hardcore in 2012?
Blacklisted. Shit like that.
Oh yeah. But that was the whole Blacklisted, Trash Talk, Mental, all that sort of stuff. Okay,
definitely.
This scene was not at its highest point in 2012. We'll put it that way.
No. At that point, I think at 2012, it basically was kind of the ugly. It was that weird sort of cousin you have that you were friends with when you were little that you don't want to talk about being friends with him now because he's.
They send you weird emails.
They're kind of just odd. But yeah, 2012 was not a good look. But now here we are in 2022, 10 years after that, and the sound has made a comeback with a vengeance. There is no shame in people referencing it, saying this is the stuff I grew up on. It's kind of neat.
People have become more open-minded, I think. I don't know where that came from, but there was certainly an attitude even when I was growing up with parental influences, not mine specifically, but there was a kind of a gatekeeper aspect that I think has sort of started to go away.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think it's a big part of it. There's less the mine, almost like Tim and I come from the hardcore world. We were hardcore fans, still are. There could be a little bit of gatekeeping and this is my scene patrolling, scene policing, where now it's just oh, you liked Korn, so did I.
It's that way with the big four metal bands too, who I like Metallica, but the Metallica fans, some people like that do have a bit of an attitude about other music, which I had as a kid too. I'm not better than anybody else, but people grow up.
Slayer.
Where I'm from, that's all they listen to. Pantera, Slayer, Megadeth, Metallica. They think they're the only metal bands that ever came out. So
it's Slayer. And everybody's yelling Slayer. You're like, oh my God, this is it's Slayer is the new version of Cannibal Corpse. Well, so we're at an hour. So I want to kind of loop us up and take us out of here because we all got work tomorrow. Dave, if you being as younger than Tim and I, you have a different frame, a different set of lenses. If there is a second or third tier new metal band that you kind of think gets slept on and people should really check it out and give it a listen, that it might not be what you remembered for the old heads that are watching and listening? What would you suggest?
I would probably give the nod in terms of one that isn't really off the board. Probably it would be Edema, because it's just like if Korn made way more commercial music, which I get it. It's kind of a ripoff, but what if you made Korn like accessible to people that didn't like as much heavy stuff? It's fine. It's fine music.
Okay.
I would agree.
Yeah, I got it. I can honestly say I don't think I've ever listened to an album front to back. So maybe
First
we'll do
one's
one of
good.
those. We'll
Good
do
in
one
the
of
way
those
of
in a
like
deep
we
dive.
would like it, but it's also like kind of objectively bad. But that's what the genre. That's why the genre is fun. It's like I like this even if it's stupid.
Yeah, that you bring up a really interesting point, Dave. There were some parts of it that were objectively embarrassing and bad, but that's what made them so. I guess that's what made them, for lack of a better word, lovable.
It's got some
And
character.
we look at character. We look back on it lovingly. Like, there are some pictures of me with giant caffeine pants in college, and I look back and I'm like, and my eyebrow rings and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if that was a good look now, but back then I was all right.
Exactly.
I got to dig out some of those and put them on the site. Will really terrify some people. So, all right. So once again, we want to thank Dave did all the legwork on this episode, fans, truth be told. So thank you, Dave, for taking the time. Thanks for putting together the agenda. This has been a really, really fun conversation. Makes Tim and I really feel old, but realize that some of the stuff that we may look at as derisively, however we say that word, might not be that bad. We just got to get our old guy glasses, our gatekeeper glasses off. Not gatekeeper, not gate creeper, who I'm pretty sure their next album is going to be huge. So we want to thank Dave for coming on again. We want to thank all of you for tuning in, listening in, watching. If you like what you heard, give us a review, a rating on your podcast platform of choice. It helps others find us. Everybody's got a new metal podcast these days, so every little bit helps. You can find us on all the socials at newbreed_podcast. If you have your own idea for a show, email us at newbreedpodcast@gmail.com. And I think that's it. I think this episode will be out fairly soon. So we hope all you fans are still enjoying. And until next time, this is New Breed Podcast saying peace.
See ya.
Later.